All right, well, we're back. I mixed up some of my old red colors. I had this ox blood I was trying out for a minute, and I had some clear with black flake and red flake in it. Decided to mix them together. I didn't like the ox blood colors, too dark, too heavy. So let's see how it turned out. I'm gonna try it out on these two new molds I got today. This one is a tube craw. I've never done a tube craw. I don't have the cutter. So that's gonna make it a little difficult to synth these things out, but we'll get to that point when that time comes, I guess. Let's see how this pour turned out. Take out my little, it's still pretty hot. I've been heating up the molds so that they don't warp on me. I saw that on World's Worst Fishing. Ow, that's hot. All right. So got a little bit of blowout. Peels right off though. And so that is a tube craw. I believe this was a 3.5 inch. 3 3/4 inch actually. All right, not bad, not bad. Pretty toasty. Let's see if it slides right off. I probably should have oiled these rods. But there it goes. Well, probably should have waited. Yeah, and that's how I fucked that up. Beauty is, goes back in the cup. We'll try that again later. All right, so I'm gonna let those cool off a little bit more. And let's see how this one turns out. Now this is a micro craw. It's like 1.5 inches long. Almost looks more like a cricket. Ouch. That is still really, really hot. But let's see what happens here. I heat my molds up to about 250 so that you can't really touch them. And then of course the material is 350, so you can imagine the heat load that builds up. Let's see if I can find a better place to do that. They don't have a slot for it, so might have to put on a glove. Always good to have a glove by. All right, there it goes. Let's get a little knife in there to keep things from okay. Again, a little too much pressure. Still working that out. That's how those little things turned out. Pretty cute. About the size of a fingertip. So we'll let those cool off and I'll clean them up. And I am right now warming up a dookie bait. So once I get that plastic heated up and the mold heated up, I'll be right back. All right, so I've heated up my 3.5 dookie bait. It's actually a Tama dookie, something like that, but also known as a turd bait. Something we played around with last year and had some good success with smallmouth bass specifically, but the big mouths we're getting them too. I've got my red plastic now heated up to appropriate temperature. I'm gonna draw this one more time. I'm gonna redo those baby craws because they were just a little too much over pressured, and that's a lot of cleanup on something that tiny. So I just threw them back in the cup. We'll try again. This time I'm not gonna push so hard. There we go. And of course the dookies. There we go. Top it off a little bit. Let's give it a little extra. And everything else back in the cup. Okay. We're gonna let that set up. Clean out my tools over here by the microwave. All I've got to do is take this little pump apart, push out your leftover plug, drop it back in the cup to be reused again. This is wonderful material. I'm very frugal, so I can just keep all this leftover plastics and just keep trying different things. I have a few others here. This one's a clear with red. You just keep these pucks and you reheat them when your time comes, when you need just a little bit of bait. I got the green watermelon, red flake, and baby bass blue and green. It's a great laminate. So I just keep these things around because you never know when you just want to do a hand pour, you need a little bit more. Or you only need a little bit, and making a whole cup becomes a big mess that you have to commit to. So let's see how our molds are doing. It's gonna take a little, so it's already, you can see it's already sucked up inside. I don't know if you can see that, but it's recessed all the way in there. It's sucked it up as it cools. These, I don't like these composite molds as much. For one, you definitely have to oil them first. I did not do that the first time I used it, and it got stuck in there in every little groove. It took an hour to clean out. So you gotta oil them. They also warp when you heat them up. They will separate on you. If you don't heat them evenly inside and out, which of course they have pegs so you can't get the surface down. So do the best I can. I let it cool down a little bit to get them at least a warm. If you don't heat them up, you'll get those dents. You'll get a little concave section on the thick baits. Doesn't happen as much with the smaller ones, but okay. We'll let these cool down a little bit while I pick out another mold to play with. All right, while those other two molds cool, I've heated up my clear with red and black flake. I'm gonna do a little pour laminates. Got this little bobtail and a swim bait. This is the tricky stuff. I like my material a little hotter when I do this because it flows better, but I am super sloppy. So I'm gonna start with my clear, which will be the top. Drops in the tail. Come on, fill it up. There we go. Too much. It's so hard not to do too much in these. One more drop. One more drop. Come on, give me one more drop. Oh, too much. See, there it is, too much. Ah, such a pig. All right. Once that cools a little, I use a razor blade to scrape off that overpour. Let's get the bottom belly of this one here. I'm gonna do the bottom in clear. And I'm gonna pour part of the tail and clear all the way up to the top, to the where it meets the shank. If I can get it to flow again. There we go. All right, we'll let that cool off. Meanwhile, over at the microwave, I've got my Oxblood cherry heating up again. Knife, roll off my knife condom, give that a little stir, take those big chunks, cut them up a little bit. It's starting to get hot, you can see the steam coming off of it. But that's not quite ready. Give it another 45 seconds or so. And while it's doing that, I'll just kind of scrape away from the mold with the razor blade. Take off those little boogers. Oh, that one got overfilled. I have to cut it. Little boogers out of there because they fall inside there, it's going to show. All right, that one's going to have a solid clear tail. That's okay. Might even be better. Let's see. test the heat of my plastic real quick. I know you're supposed to use the stick thermometer. I do have one, but this is so much faster. All right, we're at 340. That's good enough temperature actually to pour. All right, here we go. Let's see if we can do this a little cleaner this time. Let's do a little layer on top. Yeah, that's a little over full right there. If you get it hot enough, it'll self-level, but it cools off so fast, which is why heating up the mold helps a little bit. That was pretty good. Helps if you can rest the back of the glass on the table. These last two, I'm not going to be able to do that. Okay, last one. Okay, set that aside, and we're going to go ahead and fill up the rest of this one with this red. All the way across the tail, give it a little red top. This one I don't mind pouring a little closer to the top because I don't like that concave that ends up coming in as it cools. There it is. That's not bad. It's probably one of my better jobs so far. Okay, while these cool, these up here. Let's see what we got with our dookie. Okay, you gotta oil these things. It's a little sticky. I thought I did. There it goes. That is a Tamaduki, or Tamakaduki, or something like that. Turd bait. Hold those up in the light, kind of see the color a little bit. It's got a little pearl to it. All right, let's see how the next one turned out. Much better at coming apart. So there's the others. It's also got a little bit of gold in it. All right, well, sorry for the interruption. My neighbor kid came to take my garbage cans out. You gotta love good neighbors. All right, so in the meantime, I did open up the two dookie baits. One of them kind of stuck to it. It wasn't quite up to snuff, so it's back in the cup to get remelted. These two turned out pretty good. So that's a dookie. And then I poured these hand molds. I think they need to be trimmed up a little bit. I'll have to clean them up, but I think overall, let's see if that shows, got a layer of clear on top and a blood red cherry on the bottom. So got several of those. Let's see how they turned out. One there. Yes, indeed. I like that. That is something I would throw. So we just cut off that little booger. And peel it on out. So this one's a little over poured, so I'm just going to cut that right at the mold. Just use the edge of the mold to cut it. Cool, cleans that up a little bit. It's easier to clean them when they're in the mold, I found. in my vast 4 days of experience. A little too much clear on the red on the tail on that one, but overall, I think they turned out okay. Let's see if we can get you a better shot of those with some better background here. Give you a couple of those on the block. See how that shows up. Yeah, this light, it's not the best, but you can kind of see the idea. It turned out pretty good. I've got several of these already poured. This has been one of my favorites to go to because I know my partners back home are going to throw this. And there's those. And then while I had the color going, I threw away that other batch of craw, little mini craws, and redid them because that's too much work to clean up something that small. This one turned out perfect. These things are great. Got a see-through red. I think they'll do pretty well, but they are super tiny. So we'll pull those out of the mold. And lay them out. There we go. Ta-da. Whoop. Let's go ahead and cut that thing off. That goes back in the cup. We don't waste any plastic here in this garage. All right, so anyways, there we go, little mini craws. And I poured this swim bait, as you remember. Let's see how that turned out. A little overage on that one, boom, boom, boom. Keeping that oiled helps a lot. Okay, so this was the clear bottom with the red oxblood cherry top. I'll have to get some scissors on it, but overall, I think it turned out okay. Kind of see through some of that. This light's not the best for showing off bait, but you get the idea. It's red, darker on top, clear on the bottom. There you go. All right, so that was my hand pour for the day. And I think that's probably all I'm going to do for today. All right, guys. Well, I know it's kind of a long video. I'm going to edit a lot of this out, but thank you for watching. ASF Bait Labs.